With types, are we all, like when I say all, are we all comfortable with creating variables, objects, arrays, defining data types, and creating basic functions? Can we all do that? Can we all do that? Right? We can. We can do that. Okay. Okay. So, let's say I'm giving you a small question. You have an array, right? Let's say this is fruits array because that's just above me. So, okay, that's a fruits array. And you create a function which takes a string as parameter, and the function adds the string in the fruits array and returns the updated array. Right now, mind you guys, let's say if I'm calling, let's say fruit shop function, right? And इसके अंदर I have passed apple. So there will be an array, right? There will be an array, let's say fruits array in which this apple will get added, right? उसके बाद let's say if I go and call this fruit shop with orange, right? In this case, I should be adding orange over here, right? And what you have to do, you have to do this in TypeScript. So you have 5 minutes, quickly create this function, paste it in chat, and we'll see. And I'm supposing ki around 26 people will do that. So make sure everyone's pasting their code in chat. So yeah, here's the question. Anyone done? Okay. So ठीक है, almost correct, almost correct. Not entirely, but almost correct. ठीक है, correct. What about others, guys? ठीक है, अभिषेक करेक्ट. What about others, guys? Quickly, please, in chat. Okay. But we'll have to return the array also, right? Array will only contain string, yes. Yes, it will. Okay, showing correct. Okay, let's see. Let's see, people. So let's say if I go and create a function, right? Let's say function fruits or ES6 में करते हैं. Let's say cons and we have fruits, right? So यहाँ पे we'll define an array, this, and we'll accept a fruit, right? And हम क्या करेंगे? Array dot push will push the fruit and we'll just return, right? Return the array, and we can keep on doing this. Fruits and apple, and we'll have fruits and orange, right? Like basic function, maybe we could have done it like this, or is it wrong? Yes, no, anything? What about others, guys? Quickly. Yes. So if I console this, right, what will be the output? If I do console dot log yes, इतने सारे yes दिख रहे हैं मेरे को, ठीक है. If I console this, what will be the output? Is it going to be apple in an array? Makes sense? Makes sense? Okay. If I console this, console.log this, what will be the output? Will it be apple and then orange? Yes, this will be the output. Yes, everyone, right? एक बार देखना कोड फिर से, सारे yes वाले. Okay, one output is this. Here's another output. Which one out of these two will it be? 293 one or 294 one? First one or second one? Out of these two, which one will it be? 294, okay. 294, okay. What about this? क्या होगा आउटपुट? 294, right? Why so? Because the array is getting resetted every time this function is being called. How do we fix it? How do we fix that? How do we fix that? Define it globally. Define it globally. Now this will give correct output for this and this. Yes. All right. So let's name it as fruit shop and let's name it as fruits. Second. Now, sure. All right. So now that this is out of the way, now what we'll do, we'll basically do the conversion into TS, right? So line number 284 array is anticipating what? What kind of data type are we supposed to put in here? Strings? Strings. So how do we say ki this is gonna always store a string? We'll mention string, right? But is this correct way of defining an array of string? No, we'll have to mention this. This means ki basically you are gonna create an array of strings. All right. Now we'll visit the function. Is parameter can be considered as a variable? Yes. What's gonna be the data type of it? We're expecting a string. All right. Then the return statement is supposed to be a data type, kinda variable only, and it's gonna be array of string. It's gonna be array of string, right? So what can I put over here? Where should I put it to? यहाँ पे what should I write? String array. Makes sense. All right. So return statement has some error. It says string number boolean is not assignable to type string. Okay. Why so? Why are we getting this error? Show the code. Okay. Yes. Why the error? Array should be fruits. Okay. Return array हो रहा है. Yes. So this will be fruits and this will be fruits. अभी ठीक है? Right. So this will work as expected. Plus it's a TS file, TS script, right? So overall, if this is clear, then going forward, it can be easier for us to understand stuff. So ये clear है सबको? Everyone, the refactoring. All right. Now, what if, like currently what we are doing with functions is that we predefine stuff, right? We predefine ki yeah, this function is gonna take a string and it's gonna return a string or something. But don't you think doing this decreases reusability of this function? It's always gonna accept a string. There's never a possibility कि maybe मैं इसको boolean में रख देता. Maybe it was gonna return a boolean array. That's not a possibility. Yes, getting it. Getting it. It's not reusable. It's always gonna accept a string and do that. Now, in that case, functions are used for reusability only, right? What if I wanted to store a boolean in that array? Right? So in that case, we have something which is called generic functions, right? Basically, these functions are dynamic based on their parameters and return statement, right? Now, this was also mentioned in yesterday's notes only. So did anyone try those? किसी ने पढ़ा है notes? Went through it? Yes. Okay. So how do we define it? So basically the syntax is that you write a function, right? And let's say just name it operation, right? We're just writing syntax basis. Once you name that function, right? After that, you define ki what kind of function is this gonna be? What kind of variable it's gonna expect or like give. So over here, you can mention the type, right? So type abhi ke liye we can write as T. That's a convention that is usually used with like generate functions. And over here, you can mention that it's gonna accept a parameter, right? So let's say param. And इसको कर देते हैं इसको कर देते हैं T, right? And then we'll say कि the expected output from here will be T only, right? And then you can just return this param that you had. Right? तो अभी क्या होगा? Now this function will be defined with a like random data type. It can expect anything and it can return that thing given that those stuff are similar, right? So let's say if I call this operation with let's say a boolean value, right? Boolean value, let's say true. So in that case, am I getting any error? No, because it was expecting a Boolean parameter and it was expecting like a Boolean return value. Now, if I call this operation somewhere else with a string, right? Let's say help. Are we getting any error? No, because इसने क्या किया है? इसने यहाँ पे type by default it set it to be string and return statement also it set it to be string. Right? So we can say it type is any I mean in that case you can say but like exactly वो बात नहीं है, it basically molds itself, right? If type was supposed to be any, right? So in that case like I mean yeah you can say that but not exactly, right? Technically no but functionally yes. ठीक है मतलब in definition on book you can't say it but it acts like that. Yes. जिस तरीके से you have your factory function and constructor function they almost act like similar but they are not exactly similar, right? वैसा कुछ. Yeah. ठीक है. So this is how you can create a function like these are generic function wherein you can pass anything over here based on whatever you get over. Right? So, like, I hope this is clear. We can move towards like maybe array का generic function. वो थोड़ा सा we can discuss. That's fine. Right? चलिए. So let's see if we want to create a function which can like accept an array or something. So again, let's say we are creating a function and we're calling it fruits. Right? Now, I'll mention t over here and in brackets, I'll start mentioning fruit, right? So let's say कि if this fruit array is supposed to have numbers in it, right? इसमें numbers होंगे, तो how can I define that? इसमें numbers होंगे. Again, if it's a generic function, you don't have to define specifically. You can have it in this way, and then you can say कि return statement will be T array only, right? Again, I hope it's understandable that this can be changed also, right? You can say कि the return statement will be string, right? So in this case, just make sure that when you're returning a string only, right? So let's say कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We are doing fruit and इसका 0th element return कर रहे हैं. Type T is not assignable to type string. Okay, right, that's this then. अच्छा ठीक है, I guess we'll have to just go with T only. चलो कोई नहीं, that's fine. And Okay, fine. So we can return to fruit array only. Right? पर एक काम करते हैं थोड़ा सा let's change it a bit. Let's say कि we are calling this fruits array and we're calling it with 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 and 5. Right? In this case, what I can do like fruit dot reverse, right? And उसको return कर दिया. Right? So again, yeah, reverse, was it working on string, right? I don't exactly remember. Reverse अपने array का function है कि string का है? Array, right? ठीक है. So we can do this over here and it will return the rotated array, right? Again, we are getting smarter. Let's see. Let's see. If I do tsc amp ts, uh, okay. Uh, and 4 is यहाँ पे window. See, ts. Okay, there's an error. T array is not assignable to type T. Wait, did we miss something? Hmm. अच्छा हाँ यार यहाँ पे भी है just returning a string, right? So either we could have done this, right? कि we are returning a specific element from it, but again this element will be number, तो वो number यहाँ से decide हो जाएगा, right? तो ठीक है, let's see. So over here, if I console.log line number 3, 1, 2, will I be getting 1 in output? 5, right? We'll be getting 5 because the array is being rotated, right? And 5 will be the first element now. Yes, so 5 will get in output. That makes sense because this generic function was expecting an array and it was returning like a single stuff, right? जिससे भी वो array बना था. So this array was consisting of numbers, so it's returning a number. So hence that, right? Because it will say कि you can convert it, right? Similarly, if I had gone with fruits with an array of string in this case, right? So this won't be an error either because by default this will be an array of strings and this will be a string. Yes, and we are returning a string. Clear? So I hope generic function is making sense because this is like this is going to be a very huge part of components because you understand कि components are supposed to have child and then parent to child and then like that kind of relation. तो उसमें you are not always sure कि output क्या आने वाला है, right? So it's not a case कि you will go and just use type any everywhere, right? Type any use कर रहे हैं, then what's the point of using TS? So rather than doing that, you go with a bit more dynamic way of achieving it and you create a generic function out of it so that at least type checking is done with respect to what you're getting and what you're doing, what you're returning. Clear? Clear? ठीक है, तो this was the last stuff that was kind of a basic stuff. अभी we can move towards combining our TypeScript with React, right? So let's do that. Let's close this. Let's put the zip file in zip folder and yeah, let's open it up. We already have the down. So npm create Vite latest. Is this the way of creating a Vite application? Right, you guys know, I know if I press enter, I'll get the name of the folder पे name दे देंगे, then I can pick TypeScript from there, right? That's one way of doing it, है ना? You have already seen, like do I have to show you? If I press enter, I'll put the name and then I'll have to pick TypeScript or JS. Like we usually pick JS. What if I want to do it here only? यहीं पे. How can I do it? Can you guys go check Vite का like documentation and let me know? How can we achieve that? What should I write after Vite @latest? name. Okay, so name will write, the will say S4 D4. Okay, but again यहाँ पे I don't think we can go with that. So let's say we'll say React with TS. ठीक है, उसके बाद name, then template. Okay, okay. Can we skip template? No, because it will define what template you want. Okay, and what's the template gonna be? Template क्या होने वाला है? Will it be TS? Will it be React TS? Will it be React JS? What will it be? Guys, guess मत करो. Check the documentation and let me know. React TS. So this is it. You are telling me if I press enter, I won't get an error. Yes, कितने लोग sure है? अच्छा, जैसे ही श्योर पूछो तो अकाउंटेबिलिटी आ जाती है, देन यू गाइस बैक डाउन, राइट? एवरीवन बैक डाउन्स. That's fine. Let's press enter. Let's see. So it's creating something. We'll see what it's creating, and let it create. Acha, once this installation is done, do we have to do anything else, guys? What does documentation says? We have to do anything else? अभी तो pick करना पड़ रहा है. Okay, let's pick TypeScript from here then. TS, but TypeScript with SWC. TypeScript. Okay, okay. Let's clear it. And wait, where is it? Okay, okay. I thought we created it with S4 D4 name. Anyways, so over here you have this ts convict.json. This is like the entire ts ka compiler, right? The transpiler rather. It will basically transpile everything. Let's see index.html. It's nothing different. This is HTML file. It's supposed to be not different. We'll have to do a quick npm I. So let's do that. Uh, let's do that. Let's zoom this one out a bit. So this will be React, and we'll do npm I over here. So in TypeScript documentation, right? I hope you figured out you have that thing also. TypeScript. You have like documentation with respect to Redux, React also, right? So over here you can maybe reference the cheat sheet. Yeah, you can have like overall how things are written. So that's there, like, and they should be React. Then they changed it again. Mm-hmm. Reference JS to TS, you can access this also. TS config reference if you want to understand that. Here are React and Webpack. So over here, it will basically give you a kind of a tour key how you can apply React with TS and all. So I think this is based on your that thing, like CDN based. We don't need that. Like second, we can go with React. So over here, it will explain how you can use TypeScript in that, right? But again, let's just understand. Mostly, it's gonna be basic only, nothing much different. Same ही होगा. It's just that we'll have to kind of refactor it. Chali. So we have done that. Let's do npm run dev over here, and yeah, we're live. We'll go over here, and you have your beat with React, and it works. All right. So let's visit app.tsx. Now, any changes that you see with respect to that? मतलब TS से related कोई change? Anything different from your JS? so far? Nothing. Nahin, it's just that now we are getting errors over here, even if the import statements are not written, and J6 files are converted into TSX, right? Here is a main.tsx. It's again almost similar, right? Let's remove the CSS also and index.css, right? So the refactoring starts from app.tsx file only, right? So let's do one thing. Let's create a small component, right? Let's create a counter component. So let's go over here and over here we'll have components, and over here we'll create a counter.tsx. Now we'll define export, we'll define const, we'll define a counter, and we'll define a function, we'll define a return statement, and we'll define a div, right, with a button, decrement, and h2 over here for not increment, or like data, right, or let's say for showing count, and we'll have a button over here which will basically show your increment value, right? But is this a TS code? Is this how we write functions based on TS TypeScript? No, no. npm create wait react no. No. Okay. So basically, what is missing over here? In case if I tell you कि I'm gonna receive this count, right? मुझे ये count parent से आएगा. I'll receive this count from parent, right? So in that case, this count has to be defined with what prop it's gonna be. What's the value is it gonna hold? Yes, we have to define that, predefine that rather. Right? तो एक चीज यहाँ पे हो गया. Then you have to define कि what you're gonna get in return. तो अभी return जो है, it's a bit complex, right? क्यों complex है? Because every React component is supposed to return what? Every React component at the end is supposed to return what? A UI, a UI, agree, agree. It's supposed to return a UI, right? So for that, if you had to write a separate like a return type for it, that can get a bit like kind of a weird, right? Not weird, can get tough, right? So what React does, it gives you a predefined type, right? वो आपको एक predefined type देता है, which you can import from React only, right? We'll go and we'll import. We'll import React from React, right? And now यहाँ पे, if you want to define what this function is gonna return, you'll mention it's gonna return React dot fc, right? Now fc का full form क्या हो सकता है? Can you guys think about it? What might fc mean? Make sense? Functional component. Make sense? Right? So that's it gonna be. Now, abhi, these functional components are gonna be like generic functions only, right? But first thing first, we'll have to define ki what are we gonna take as type over here, right? Right? Let's say कि यहाँ पे we define कि the type is gonna have like props over here, right? And multiple props आएंगे, तो basically you would go and define those props. You say कि I'm gonna expect a name, which is gonna be a string. I'm gonna expect a count, which is gonna be a number, right? अभी क्या होगा? Once this prop is defined, you will have to attach it with this function. You'll say कि this is the prop that I'm expecting over here. Right? Now you can just directly use this prop over here without even defining it every time. Right? You can just destructure that, like you can accept this props over here, and you can do prop.count or you can destructure it over here like this, name and count. Clear? And यहाँ पे I can go and I can just use this count like this, right? And let's say यहाँ पे count, and I have another, and I have name over here, right? Count for यहाँ पे name, right? So now let's go in app.tsx, and over here we'll call the counter. We'll call the counter, right? And we have that counter over here. Now यहाँ पे what should we pass? Should we pass? What is it expecting? क्या expect क्या कर रहा है? It's expecting two props. One is going to be a string, one is going to be a number, name and count respectively. So app.txx में will go, and first we'll do one small thing. इस functional component को भी will refactor into TS. Right? So can we refactor app into TS real quick? कर सकते हैं? Yes. I'll remove this. I'll say const app, right? And like this. Now we'll do React, right? We'll have to import React from React, and we'll have to do React dot the predefined type FC capital, right? So now we have defined this app. This app is not taking anything, so we can just directly go with this, right? And we are already by default returning it, so that's fine. Now in this counter, you have to pass two things, right? First, we'll have to pass count, right? And that count is gonna be a number. So let's say we are passing 1. And then what else do we have to pass? The name. So name will pass something over here, right? So you're getting that in output. Clear? Now, in case you mess up and आपने कुछ गलत डाल दिया, let's say कि in case of this, you mentioned a string, right? You mentioned something. Now, if you go for count, right? Even though production may it's working, the application is working as fine because TS is getting converted to JS and then it's being used. So output is fine. That's not an issue. But while you are in development, are you getting an error? Ki, yeah, this is something that's going wrong. Maybe we can see and fix it. Development, we are getting an error. Here, red line. It says string is not assignable to type. Right? So by this, we can understand ki what it is expecting. Now, without even visiting the file, मान लो कि आपने कभी counter देखा ही नहीं है. Can you hover over this error and figure out कि count में what do I have to send rather than string? What should I send? Like, can you read it somewhere? Yes or no, guys? Without even looking at counter file, how again currently you know about number. Let's do one thing. I'm gonna unshare my screen. I'm gonna put some more variables over there, right? I'm gonna have ID, and that's gonna be something, and I'm gonna have what else can we have? Something like this. It's gonna be this, right? So I'll go back in app.tsx, and यहाँ पे I'll mention this, and this. All right, I'll share my screen again, and you guys tell me, okay, how do we know if in counter file we have something? Okay, so in counter file, I went and I defined two things, right? I defined a data and I defined an ID. In data, I mean, we think the data is always an array, so let's pass an array of 1, 2, 3. And in ID, I mean, IDs are usually numbers or strings, so let's say we are passing a random ID, right? So is application working fine? Is there any issue with application run करने में? Guys, I need your responses, please. Or I'll just figure it out कि मतलब जो दिल्ली गए हैं बस वही लोग respond करते थे. Quickly, I need responses. Okay. Now, application is not breaking. So how will I figure out ki what are we expecting in data file without even visiting the file? Because the first problem was that we had to visit a long set of file to figure out कि वो function क्या expect कर रहा है. If I hover over it, can you tell me कि what this data is expecting? Number, how? The property, what's ID expecting? Boolean, what's count expecting? A number, right? So we can go and fix it, right? यहाँ पे we can go and provide the number over here, right? Number. यहाँ पे we'll go and provide number. I think number was there. And यहाँ पे we'll go and provide a boolean value, right? So true. Clear? No errors so far. We can clarify this use state also because everything will give an error which is being used or not used. Clear? So simply we just created a React application with TS wherein we had a counter. We went over here in counter, we predefined some stuff in props and we can just directly use them over here. Now that's not the only way. You can just go about defining the props here only, right? Like your string, your number, your name, and that can happen. That's fine. Now, one small thing, let's say that this data can be either a number or it can be an array, right? So app.tsx में गए and it can be either a number, it can be either an array. So how can we deal with that? How can we deal with that? It can be either a number or an array. Union, 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 right? So we'll visit our data and we'll provide a union over here and we'll say this can be a array also. Now, it's not going to be an empty array. So we'll have to define what kind of array it's going to be. Is it going to be a string array? Or you can also send a number array. Right? So in this case, if I visit app.tsx again, if I go and pass an array, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is fine. And if I pass an array of strings, right? 1, 2, and 3. This is also fine. Clear? Clear? Yes. So far, do you think refactoring your original code into TS is going to be big pain? कोई बड़ा issue है? No, the only issue that was ever going to be was how do you return this HTML? That React has already fixed for you. It provides a functional component. Now all you have to do is you have to just define a functional component. You have to define what prop it is expecting. You can define a type. You can define an interface even, and you can just go about it. Clear? Does it make sense that this can be interface? This can be interface. Does that make sense? Interface. Interface. Makes sense, right? Type and interface were almost similar. The only difference between these two was interface and type में क्या difference था? What was interface better at? I mean, we know that they both do same thing. Interface, what was it better at? There was a keyword extends. Was extends available with interface? Yes, and with type there was another keyword which was and. So we can take interface 1 and we can merge it with interface 2. Yes, so this was leverage over one another, but almost they were doing the same thing. So you can use any of those over here. But now is our entire component well structured? Now, before even entering this component, we know what interfaces are going to be defined in this prop. क्या expect कर रहे हैं? Right? So this is clear. Can we all do that? Yes. Yes. ठीक है. All right. So ठीक है. Now I want you all to do a small thing. In this counter, this count that we are gonna have, right? We'll have to do a small thing. We'll have to use state, right? Use state में the initial value is gonna be this count, right? ये count होगा initial value, and then you do the basic counter of decrement पे decreasing the count and increment पे increasing the count. Can we do this? Can we do this simple stuff wherein use state ko we have given the initial value of count and then decrement and increment happens. To quickly do it for this component. Here's the code. You just have to update it. I'll give you 5 minutes for it. So take your time. Done, guys? What? This thing? Yes, no? Okay. Okay. So let's say if we visit here, right? We have like a variable, let val, and we have a set val. So if we define a use state over here, we'll have to define ki what value are we going to hold inside this function, because we can't just go about doing this, right? Right? या तो हमें mention करना पड़ेगा कि what this count is going to hold as value, so it's going to have a number, right? But this won't work. So what we can do with functions, you know that we can do this directly, right? So we'll do that only. We'll mention ki what this is going to be. So we'll mention that this is going to be a number only. Right? So by default, it will keep in mind, yes, this count is going to be number, right? So you can either start with 0, that's fine. You can start with 0, and this count is going to be a number. Now you can have value over here, and you can have buttons which can increment and decrement stuff. Clear? So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Ki you can define the hooks, but after that you'll have to mention if you're using TypeScript. Again, if you don't mention, the code won't break, right? But if you're refactoring the code in a proper way of creating a TypeScript code or writing a TypeScript code, you'll have to follow or think about each and every place where you can static type of stuff, right? So you know, use state, there's a possibility that someone might come and try push like a string over here, or maybe a string number over here in here. So no one's stopping them, right? Let's say if I go and if I attach a on click यहाँ पे, right? And whenever I'm clicking, I'm doing set val equals to 0. अभी यहाँ पे error आ जाएगा, but if I wasn't using like TS, I was just using regular use state, this would have worked, right? Yes or no? Setting value to a string, this would have worked. Yes, but in this case, given that we are defining a number explicitly, it won't happen, right? वो पहले mention कर देगा, you can't assign a string over there, you'll have to mention a number only. Clear? Let's say you do a value plus 1, and over here you can do on click, and you can do like set val, and this will be val. अच्छा ऊपर वाला +1 होगा, this one will be -1. Right? In this case, you can go about creating a counter with help of TS. Right? Clear? Clear? There's one more thing. Basically, remember the event that we used to catch. Like let's say, rather than doing this, what I want to do, I want to do a handle click, right? I want to do a handle click, right? यहाँ पे भी I want to do a handle click, right? And let's say I have a function over here, and it's handle click function, right? So abhi in this function, again, can we define types? Again, that you will have to start thinking about कि कहाँ पे you can start attaching type, कहाँ पे you can write a static level of. So can we, like whenever we do a event, right? Be it on click, be it on change, be it on submit. If we are doing it in React and we are calling the function like this, can we accept the event over here as as event in here? Yes, event declare कर सकते हैं, and we can do like a console.log over here. Maybe we can do an event, right? So if I go and inspect this console, and let's say if I refresh it, right? If I click on this button, I'll get that event. This you guys remember? Yes, no, anything? Right? So यहाँ पे you'll have to figure out कि what this event is gonna be, right? Because again, you'll have to do a static typing, or else वो event को any मान लेगा, right? So whenever you click over it, you can accept this event from React, right? You can access React dot Click is event of what? Mouse, right? So you can do a mouse event over here, right? And यहाँ पे you can attach कि what happened. You can say कि HTML button element happened, and now it will start expecting this event based on them, right? So abhi if you go and call this handle click with the event of input, right? Input के event पे अगर आप call करने का try करो तो it will say कि you are not doing it properly, right? Handle click, right? So now you might get an error कि the event is something. Clear? And from this, like again, you might wonder कि अभी ये सारा कुछ याद रखना पड़ेगा क्या कि which event is there and all. If I hover over that, right? Can you see कि what event it is and what I've used above? Yes, can you see this? React.mouse event, है ना? So that you can just directly get it from there. So you can just hover over this change and you'll get this event. You can just copy this event, right? And you can go and create a function handle submit over here, right? And over here you can mention the event and you can just paste this. That works fine, right? And here you can do console.log event.target.value, right? And now you can have your handle submit over here, right? So again, if I refresh it, okay, refresh it, you can fill it, you'll get that event over, right? It will be React. Clear? Clear? So you can just catch that event. There's no issue. We're getting some error where type void is not assignable to change event. Okay. Hmm. Expected type. Acha, this might be. This is not an issue. That's fine. That's fine. This is clear. I can achieve that. I think it's because we are. It's supposed we wrap it in, but that's fine. But it's clear how you can go and pick the event, right? You don't have to remember anything. You can just go and pick the event in this form, right? And that will be present for all events, right? ऐसा नहीं कि just for that we'll have like form and यहाँ पे you go and write on submit over it, right? So you can hover over it and you can get whatever event there was. Clear? Clear? So again, this is something that you'll have to explicitly start defining कि आपको क्या event add करना है, क्या चीज आपको fix करनी है. Right? Handle submit. Let's remove this also. All good? Right? Event कैसे pick करना है वो भी समझ आता है. Again, you'll have to use it with respect to, let's say हम use ref use कर रहे हैं, right? Again, let's have an input over here, right? Let's have an input tag over here, and we have defined let num equals to use ref, right? Now again, this use ref is gonna hold like an initial value. It's gonna hold an initial value. Yes, like that initial value, you understand it's gonna be an object जिसके अंदर current is gonna be there. So let's say कि by default हम इसको null रखते हैं. And what we are gonna do, we are gonna define this over here. Not like this. We're gonna define this input like value, right? And value में हम उसको num देंगे, है ना? तो if it like this num variable is referencing to this, so is it referencing to a HTML element? Right? Right? HTML element को reference कर रहा है, and that HTML element is HTML input element. Will copy this piece of code कि yeah, I'm gonna get some values over there that I have to hold, and you can paste it over here. Right? So by doing this, you are mentioning use ref कि whatever value that I'm gonna get over here is gonna come from an input tag. Clear? Similarly, कि let's say you are doing it for div and all, so you can do that with respect to that. You can just hover over it and you will get that specific thing. right? So again, if you want to define for event, you'll have to copy the entire react.detail props and all, but you just have to define it for an input. You can just pick a specific thing that is happening with it, right? Currently, with this button, the element that we are going to expect from here will be this. Clear? Hai? Clear? So again, you don't have to remember anything. You just hover over it and you'll get it, right? And ऐसा भी नहीं है कि interviews में they'll ask कि they'll open notepad and उसमें you can't hover over it. So in that case, if like mostly they shouldn't, but in case they do, it's not something that is very difficult, right? This is HTML button element. If I hover over it, you'll find out that this is HTML input element, right? If I go and write a form over here, can you guess what element is it gonna be? इसके ऊपर hover करूंगा तो it will say HTML form element, right? तो ऐसा भी कुछ नहीं है which you can't guess. Clear? Clear, guys? Clear है? Clear? Everyone? ठीक है, great. Now, चलो एक काम करो, just quickly like see this if in case you have any errors with respect to this, and maybe we can see something else. Like again, any doubts with respect to this, people? No, all good. All good. Acha, ठीक है. So let's say give more example. All right, sure, why not? So let's say कि एक काम करते हैं. Let's we have covered that optional also, right? Remember that optional property in an interface, right? एक बार उसको cover करते हैं. तो let's say कि let's say this is a value that you want to send in a button, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and create a button component, right? एक button का component बनाते हैं. Let's go and create a button component, button.tsx. Now again, quickly guys, how do we define a component? Let's say I go and write export const. I write button over here. Then what should I do? I have to mention it's a React's functional component. How do we do that? We go and do react.fc. This works, right? Then we'll have to define what we're gonna have like in case of props over here, right? So let's say in that button we're gonna pass two things, right? दो चीज pass करेंगे. We're gonna pass the like body, right? Not body, content, right? हम content pass करेंगे कि what is it, increment, is it decrement, and we're gonna pass a color, right? Which will be basically the background color of that button, right? So let's say we're gonna call it background color, right? And we're gonna send a text, right? So now we're gonna accept three things over here, right? So should I define it with interface or should I define with a type, or it doesn't matter whichever we define it with? Do I have to specifically define it with interface or do I have to specifically define it with type? Or you can use either. Which one is it? Either I can go with type, I can simply go with the interface, right? So let's go with type for now. Interface we have already tried in the parent component of this button. So over here, we'll have to define the type. Let's say like the usual convention is you mention it with props, but you can go and mention it specifically. You can say button props, right? Button props. And you go over here, you'll mention you're gonna expect a content, and this content can be like a string, right? You are expecting, let's say, background color, right? Background color, and this is gonna be color किस format में? चलो, let's send it in string only, and then you're gonna send a text color, right? But there's a possibility that you might send a text color, you might not. So in that case, how can I make this two properties optional? Background color and text color. How do I make them optional? By applying a question mark. That's it. So a question mark, and by this it's getting optional. So if I have this string over here, right? So this is optional. Now we'll go and define this fc with the type that we have, which is button props, right? Abhi prop validation ho gaya, right? Now we'll just have to go and define the props over here. So now either you can do directly, you can write the button props, or you can destructure it. So why not just always destructure it? It's much better. We will mention background color and we'll mention the text color, right? And over here, we'll go and define the function. Take will return, what should we return? We should return a button, right? एक button return करेंगे and it's gonna have this content over here, right? Now the background color and text color are supposed to be like optional, right? So we can go and define it over here, right? Let's say style, and then style के अंदर we can have like background color. This, yeah, we have given it exact same name. Let's mention it as BG color, right? Let's mention it as BG color. Chicken. All right. So background color, and we'll define it with your BG color. Similarly, we'll have your text color. So text color is directory color, and we can define it with text color. Right? This makes sense? Are we missing something? Background color spelling is correct, right? This is correct. Okay, fine. So now given that these properties are optional, there's not necessarily be needed over here, right? Not necessary, not necessary. But again, given that we are dealing with JavaScript, if a variable is defined and you don't give it a value, what will be the value that will be applied over here by default? Because it's still JavaScript. Undefined, undefined. So let's say if we go in app, not app.tsx, let's say counter, right? And we are going and we are doing button. हम button element को call कर रहे हैं. So we'll have a button over here. We'll have to pass the content. So we'll pass the content. We can check what elements does it require. So we can hover over it and we'll mention if content is missing. एक एक करके. Now, can you see it's just mentioning content is missing. It's not saying कि background color or text color is missing. Right? Because they are optional, right? If I go and make them non-optional, right? Let's say कि background color is must. Right? I tell them. So if I visit counter back, if I hover over it, it's gonna mention more stuff. Right? It's gonna say you're missing content, you're missing background color. Let's add them. Let's add them. So let's say content, we mention this is gonna be dummy content, right? So that will be passed over here in this button. And let's say background color, and we mention it as blue, right? They'll have that over there. And then you can have text color also. So let's say we are mentioning it as red, right? So that is being sent, but it's not being applied. Let's see what's the issue. So, not necessarily. This can be blue and this can be red. That works. That works. I mean, it's just about sending the data, right? Okay. And in button also we can, I think we are doing that, right? We can fix this and we can fix the text color also, right? Because we have already destructured it to a certain point, right? You can send the background color and you can send the text color. But in case you're not sending a text color, that's fine. That's totally fine. Right? But if you're doing something like this, you understand this tab. You understand if you visit BTN, right? The color is by default be set as undefined. Is that a good way of doing this? I mean, undefined, so it's just turning it into black, no issue, because undefined is kind of false, so there's nothing over here. But is this a good way of doing that? Even though we are keeping it as optional, we're not assigning it a certain value. No? So remember default properties we had in functions. default properties. So how can I give this text color default property? Just mention text color equals to this, and this will be a default property. If we don't pass it, maybe it's gonna accept it like that, right? But in case we wanna pass a property, let's say in this button over here, I'm gonna pass some property, let's say content, right? And we can say ki uh, I'm some, and we can have a BG color. This can be like teal or something, and then we can pass a text color, right? Let's say this text color we are supposed to have white, right? So that specific color will take over. Clear? Clear? Okay. So getting an idea how you can like refactor your older code into like TS. You'll just have to think about what specific, how specific you can go with the static typing. Clear? But again, given that everything is gonna get converted into JS, that's why you are not gonna get a supposed error. That's why our TypeScript में थोड़ा learning curve is a bit bigger, because mostly you don't get an error, so you'll have to think about it from your end only, right? So थोड़ा from our point of view, like from developer point of view, the expectation increases. Clear? Everyone, so far so good. Any doubts with respect to this? No? All right. Okay, so let's have a break, and then after break we can discuss few more things. Right? So everyone be back by 1. Right, run back. Guys. Okay. All right, fine. Okay. So yeah, what else can we try with respect to creating components in here? Shall we try use effect? Use effect try करना है? Okay, let's do that. So let's say products component we have, right? Products, or let's say posts dot t6, right? And over here, let's say again we create a post component. So export const, this will be posts, right? We'll have to define key what kind of component is it. So we'll do react dot functional component, right? And I mean currently it's not gonna hold anything, so we can just directly go with like normal stuff. We just mention this and return. It like returns a diff with like a heading on it, right? Instead, this will be posts. We have exported it, so let's import it in app.tsx. Okay, let's do it. Posts. All right. Okay, some error is there. Posts. Wait, app.tsx. Counter posts. अच्छा यहाँ पे equals to, yeah. Okay, now let's refresh it. Check it. So this is fine. Now what I want to do over here is I want to have a use effect, and based on that I want to call in like a API, and I want to get the data from there, right? So how can I do that? We'll have to think in terms of what we are going to get from there and how we are going to like add it, right? तो उस हिसाब से सोचना पड़ेगा. So yeah, let's say if we go and visit request nahi, JSON placeholder, right? And over here, let's say we have users. Let's say posts. All right. So let's say if we have this, right? If we copy this and let's have this URL over here. So URL, and this is gonna be a string, and yeah, you have your URL over here. And yes, so we'll do a use effect, right? Use effect. But do you think in case we're just putting a function over here, we need to mention anything over here currently? No, but think about it. We're gonna have like a loader feature. We're gonna have we're gonna get some data from fetch, right? So we need two properties over here. Though use effects on use states only. Yes or no? Yes or no? Quickly, guys. Yes or no? Two states will be needing, right? So let's define those states. A data, set data, and this will be use state. Now, what is this? What is the format of this? Array, array of object, right? Array of object. So if we go like in a proper way of doing it, we'll have to define it with null, because you can't think ki what we are expecting from your API, right? Because in that case, if we go in depth, we'll have to first define an interface for it. Interface, which is gonna have let's say data interface, right? And in here, we are gonna have to figure it out what we are gonna get, user ID and all, right? So you don't want to get into that much nitty gritty. Over here, you can define it as null, right? Null से define करते हैं. Now, what else do we need? We need a loading indicator. Loading, we need a set loading, right? And this will be like use state, and this is gonna be like false, right? So this we know what we are gonna expect over here. So we can mention boolean over here, right? This is always gonna be a boolean. The use state, why we haven't kept anything over here, right? Like by default it's any, right? The reason being because over here you can't expect कि आपको क्या मिलने वाला है आपको. There's a possibility that someone is like, let's say this URL is being sent over here in this format. There's a possibility that this is a Firebase URL, right? Right? It's a Firebase URL. In that case, this won't be an array. It won't be. It will be an object. So for some things, we'll have to think in those terms. What we are going to get in return. Check that's fine. Now over here, what we'll have to do? Let's say we are going to do it with Axios. So we'll import Axios from Axios, but we'll have to install it first. So let's install it. This will be sprint. Oh, sprint 4, and we have cd react over here. So let's clear it and let's do npm I Axios. Right. All right. So now the issue should be available. I think this is not usage wala issue. It's declared but never used. Tick. So let's use it. How do we do a GET request with Axios? Axios dot get. Yes. And over here we'll mention the URL, right? And then dot then we'll get the response. Where is this response folder? Store कहाँ रहता है? If I do a console.log of response, right? If we go back, you're getting this, right? So it's hold up in data. What we'll do, we'll pick our set data and usko will replace it with res.data. Yes, we'll have to fix the loading also. So as soon as the use effect starts running, we'll have to put the loading, and this will be not like this, set loading, and this will be true. Yes, loading will start, and over here we'll set the loading back to false, right? And we can have the data over here. We can have a div, and over here we can like kind of show all the posts, right? So you'll get the data from there. You'll pick the data. We'll do a data dot map, and over here we'll get the element, and here we'll return like something from it. Now, why are we getting an error? Expected token. Data is defined there. Data dot data dot map, and अच्छा इसके अंदर I think I didn't wrap it. Maybe still getting an error. Data is possibly null. Okay. Okay, let's do it with an array. Okay. ठीक है. So getting the issue. We're using a TS file, right? And then we're predefining this data with an array inside your use state, right? So we're not mentioning anything over here. So how do we know ki what are we expecting? What can be done here to fix this? is no that it. I don't think it's a return error. Hashtag. I guess it was return error. Okay, but yet again, try figuring it out. Okay, how you can deal with this, right? This will be your homework. Basically, again, you have to attach a small thing over here. You can get it from upside only, but वो थोड़ा check करना है कि how will you get it. ठीक है? Now let's go back here. Element is declared, but it's never used. Uh, okay, let's use this element then. So we can have. I'm not sure what we're getting over here. We can have ID and we can have the title. So dev e p and we can have ID. This can be element.id and we can have p b and this can be like we can have like element dot title over here. ID and title. So ठीक है, this is fine. Mm. So this is how you can like you kind of call use effect and you can get everything in your TSX file. Clear? But we are getting some error. ID does not exist on type never. All right. So the ID aren't defined with a type. So okay, what we can do over here is we can destructure it. We can mention the ID is gonna be a string because we kind of know about it. And we can define the title is gonna be a string again. Right? Okay, but again we are getting some error. I think it was key wala error. Only ID, but ID is number. Right? There is number. Reference error element is not defined. Okay, and now we have to write it as ID and this as title. And again वो फिर expect वाली बात आ जाती है ना. I didn't wanted to do it कि I mean what we can do separately we can define an interface, but my question is कि if we have another URL and it has a separate interface, in that case it won't work, right? So no, that's not the correct way of doing it. Chalo, currently let's pass the element only and we can achieve it by element.id. Right, we'll see this. Okay, we'll fix this. I mean, it's because of this use state only, because in this like array we have never defined what we are expecting, right? But if we just went over here and we defined the interface, right, based on what we are expecting over there, let's say we are expecting data set, right? And in this data set, what we are expecting user ID, title, and body, right? So let's say we're expecting a user ID, and this is gonna be like number. We're expecting a ID, and this is gonna be a number. Expecting a title, this is gonna be a string, and we're expecting a body. This is gonna be a string, right? So in that case, what we could have done, यहाँ पे okay, let's have define this data set, right, of an array, and we could have gone with that also, right? So in that format, we could have just defined this as element, and that could have worked, right? And इसमें div में we can pass the key, as ID only. But okay, element dot ID, not ID. ठीक है. But again, the small issue that from my point is that even though we have defined the data set in this format, right? But there is a possibility कि you might have a different data. So in that case, you will have to first hand know कि what API is returning. ठीक है, I guess based on a separate API, we can create a separate stuff, right? That might be clear. And loading is never used, so we can use that. We can do it over here. If loading is true, then we can say h2 loading in progress, right? Else we can just go with this, right? So that's being used now. Great. Mm, we'll have to do it over here. We'll have this, and this div will show it after that. Okay. So again, this mirror, this div is here, and then which div is this? We are ending that inside it. Okay, this has to be inside. एक second. We have this div, right? And this loading starts over here. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Check. So yeah, this is how you can kind of have that, right? But again, loading in progress, this is running in a like entire loop. The reason being, use effect is set it to run every time a specific stuff changes, right? तो वो infinite loop में जा रहा है. So what we can do, we can just set it to be load at once the page loads. So in that case, that error will be fixed. Clear? Getting this, how we can achieve, or at least we can start doing use effect in a TSX file going forward, right? So I'll give you guys 5 minutes. You can quickly replicate it. And let me know in case you have any doubt with respect to it. Okay. Interface regarding again, the thing is that you'll have to think about what the API you're expecting, and then you can put that data set over there. So basically, we're just picking this object, like object like kind of a mold, and we attached it to an element. Done, guys. Okay, take 2 more minutes then. Ten people. So, any doubts with respect to it? Yes, no, anything? No? Okay. So, let's say if I ask you to create a context API based on that, can you do that? Like, was that no for context API या फिर no doubt वाला था? अच्छा, no doubt वाला था. ठीक है. Let's say if I ask you about for creating a context API, how will you go about it? Let's say, I have like a component, and over here we mention like कौन सा context बना सकते हैं? Let's say theme context. Let's go with basics only. Theme context, right? .tsx. Let's create it in separate file actually. Let's create it in context file. Over here we can have theme context .tsx. Right? So do you guys remember context API or not? भूल गए? What steps do we have over here with respect to context API? First thing first, create the context, set the context. सबसे पहले we'll have to create the context, right? Right. Okay. So where do we import create context from? Do we have to like install some dependency or anything? No, just create the context. Okay. So where do we import it from? Where do we import create context from? From where? Guys, response, anything? React. Is the spelling correct? Is this fine? Yes. And then you define a like context. You will define, let's say, theme context, right? This is where you use your create context. What do we put inside it? What goes inside create context? Export. Okay. Export will happen. What will go inside create context? Nothing. Okay. So your normal JS में you can just send nothing, right? But over here you'll have to define कि what you are expecting this context to hold, right? आप इस context में क्या expect क्या कर रहे हो hold करने के लिए, ठीक है? You'll have to define those stuff. तो उसके लिए like we'll have two things, right? हमारे पास एक तो होगा your like the theme that you have, right? I mean, if you go with this directly, this works, right? Let's do it in both ways, right? ठीक है, चलो context बना दी. What will be the next step? Like just the basic context API that we used to do. The provider component function, right? So it will be const. It will be what can be? Let's say theme context provider. All right. Now, is this theme context provider a component? Do you use this component to wrap something inside? Is it a like? Is it a just a regular function or is it a component? It's a component. You go and wrap theme context provider में जाके you wrap your app, right? So it's a component. The component has to be defined with what? The react.fc, the react.functional component. So I'll go and define react.fc. Now what? Do we send something over here? Do we send something? We accept children. We accept children over here, right? We'll have to mention, right? What's gonna be the type of those children? Let's say we destructure it and we have the children over here, right? What are those children? Are those children like HTML elements, components? Components here at the end, they are returning component only. Every function, like every functional component is returning a functional component only, right? Which is at the end a UI HTML element, right? But with respect to a parent के हिसाब से, that will be a node that you'll get like a child node, right? So you can always just mention the children as a React node, right? React node. ठीक है, तो basically now React will expect that this children is gonna be like HTML element with multiple HTML element inside it. Clear? Clear? Now over here we can go back. We can have like our children over here, and we can just go with like a regular function. Now what should I write inside this return statement? What should we write inside the return statement? Guys, return statement में क्या लिखेंगे? Provider, only one output is there. Two. We write the provider over here, right? And like where do we pick that provider from? This theme contest. So we'll pick theme contest and we'll pick the provider. Okay, fine. Now over here we'll pass the children. Okay, that's fine. Now we have two things over here. We wanna have like a theme, and then we are gonna create a function which is gonna hold that theme, right? So we'll go and define, right? Theme, set theme, right? Now use state. What is this theme gonna hold? What will be the theme holding? It's gonna hold maybe a string, maybe a boolean. Let's go with string. So we'll have to mention the string over here, right? We'll mention the string and we'll go and start with, let's say, light mode, right? What else? We usually create a separate function for this, the updater function that we call, right? update theme. Now this is gonna expect what? फिलहाल तो nothing, right? So let's go over here. Let's do a set theme, and यहाँ पे this will be toggle based element, right? So we can't just directly pass dark, or else every time this will update dark, right? If I go and pass dark, so only once it's gonna be light, then every time when I click on that button, it's gonna be dark, right? Flag. अच्छा चलो, like we can update it, but think about it कि यहाँ पे now that we have started with string, right? Let's say कि another developer started with string, अभी हमें इसके साथ will have to improvise. तो how can I improvise यहाँ पे? So that I do toggle. I still toggle. कैसे करेंगे? Very good. Safely correct. Conditional statement will work here, right? Can we access the last theme? Yes, of course. We can write theme. Chalo theme, right? And over here we can go and check if theme is equals to light, right? If that is true, we can turn it into dark. Else, we can turn it into light. This works. करता है काम. This works. Works, right? And then over here we'll have to pass it. So we'll mention value, right? What do we have to pass? We have to pass theme, and we are passing the update theme, right? So this is your overall component that we have. Now we can basically export default, like we have multiple exports. So let's go with export. यहाँ पे we can export the function. Clear? But create context still has an error because we haven't defined a like specific structure to it, right? So what can be a specific structure? क्या हो सकता है? I mean, you can very easily go with undefined. I guess that works. Let's say if I go with undefined, this works. But undefined के साथ जाना ठीक है. चलो, that's fine. I guess undefined के साथ picking को, right? But think about it. Think about it. कि in case we are not, I mean, context है तो we will sure be returning something. चलो ठीक है. But here, can we not, again, just throwing an idea, you guys think about it कि can we do that or not? Can we not define an interface over here? And उसमें, let's say I can mention the types. So let's say theme type, and over here I can define what I'm gonna send from this function, right? So I can define कि I'm gonna have a theme, and that theme is gonna be either light or dark, right? So I can have like light, or I can have a dark, right? It's returning one stuff. It's either light or dark, and then we have another function जो कि वो context return कर रहा है, right? So that function is your update theme. And how do we define a function? Right? Yeah, so you can just directly call it here. But again, this is for your regular functions. Currently, we have an arrow function, so you can define it like this. Right? You can go over here and you can tell your interface that either we are going with theme type, or in case it doesn't work, we are going with undefined. Right? This can very easily work with null also, because there's nothing that has to iterate, right? This can go with null also. This is clear, right? Right? Because create context is expecting a return value, right? And that return value we are actually passing. Clear? So you can go with this, you can go with undefined, that box, right? Or you can just remove it altogether, that's also fine, right? But in that case, I mean, TS will throw an error, yeah, this is there. Okay, not this. I wanted to do control Y. So yeah, this works, right? We have an error over them. String is not assignable to type light and dark. Okay. ठीक है. I mean, interface में we can't directly define it. तो यहाँ पे let's say if I define themes, right, and यहाँ पे if I go and define dark and light or light, and if I use this themes, type string is not assignable to themes. Mm, okay, you're not sure what this error is supposed to be. It says type string is not assignable to themes, but we have. Acha, chalo, rather than going with this, let's just directly mention it as string. I mean, why bother? We can just directly go with this. This will fix that. Right? I was trying to see if we can just directly mention the strings only and will it take it, but I guess it's not directly using it. That's fine. Yes, children. My bad. Right? This will be children again. ठीक है, so this is our context API overall set. Anything else that we have to do with respect to this file? Of course, we have to start using it. That's fine, we'll do it. But with respect to this file, is it clear, correct? Right? Getting an idea how you can define this, right? Again, mostly JavaScript won't throw an error for most stuff, but you'll have to explicitly think what can you go and make static so that next time it won't throw an error, right? So that's where you'll have to start thinking about it. Now let's visit app.tsx. What do we have to do over here? Or is it main.tsx? क्या करना है यहाँ पे? What do I have to do, guys? Import, please, please, please. Okay, this will be the last topic, right? Please respond. Theme, context provider will have to import, right? And we'll have to wrap it over here. So theme, context provider, we'll wrap it over here. We'll wrap it over here, right? And now I can start using the context. Now I can start using the context to toggle the theme, right? So you know, okay, I can go in the file, I can just import by using use context and I can use toggling over there, right? So that you can do, I'm hoping. Yes, let's say posts mein gaye. What should we do now? Quickly. Let we have two things, right? In an object we have theme and we have update theme. We'll have to use which hook? कौन सा hook use करना पड़ेगा? Use context, right? And we'll have to provide the context over here, which is theme context. This works, right? And now based on that, we can say if it's a light theme or dark theme, right? So I can have the class name over here, right? Class name over here, and we can mention it as theme, right? So यहाँ के लिए let's go. I'll just create the CSS file over here only, but you guys don't do that. You guys create separately. It says CSS, and over here I go and create for light. Background color will be like aqua, and font family will be Cyan Serif, and I'll go and create for a dark, right? So this will be background color midnight blue, and font color will get white. Font weight will get bit. I guess font weight is not needed. Let's go with font family. Same Serif, right? And we'll have to just import it. यहाँ पे will import the styles, right? / post.css, and if I go and check the CSS, right, it's light mode. We can have a button over here which can trigger it. So we can have a button and toggle theme. and whenever this button is on clicked, on 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 click, right? What should I do on clicking the button? I should just call the toggle theme function, right? And which is your update theme. So I'll just call this update theme and it will toggle it, right? If I click on this, it will start toggling it, right? Clear? So now if I tell you to go and update your Redux with it, can you do it? You'll have your initial state. For that initial state, you'll write an interface or type, and then you will keep on doing it, right? Similarly goes for states and all, right? To give it a try. Make sure you're giving your Redux a try because that is somewhere, I mean, it's very easily refactored, but yeah. Clear? So going forward, can you start refactoring your code? Is that fine? Everyone कर सकते हैं slowly. Yes. Right. Okay. So any doubts with respect to it? Anything? No?